And our team coverage on what's taking place in Los Angeles turns to our leaders right here in the Bay State.
The lawmakers representing Massachusetts and Washington sounding the alarm on President Trump's reaction. Western Mass News reporter Wesley Days joins us live in studio with their thoughts tonight. Wesley.
Yeah, and there's plenty of them to get along or to go tell you guys about right there, Amanda and Chris. Congressman Richard Neal sounded off on the way things have played out in Los Angeles. We reached out to the congressman earlier today. He wasn't available to go on camera. Instead, he passed along a statement into our newsroom that stated that the president is showing a complete disregard of state and local law enforcement. He says activating the National Guard in the Golden State is completely unwarranted. He also added this, quote, misguided action does nothing but stoke fear, raise tensions, and sow chaos, a common theme of this administration. As a former mayor, I know the ability of local law enforcement to handle these types of situations. Well, of course, Representative Neal was the mayor of the city of Springfield. He also went on to say in his says that calling in the National Guard should have been a last resort and something done at the request of the state's governor. We also reached out to Congressman Jim McGovern for a comment, but we have yet to hear back at this point. Reporting live in studio, Wesley Days, Western Mass News.